Everybody, it is Thursday, 6:30, which means it's time for our Facebook Live. We're just going to give a few moments for everyone to join us. Excited about today's show. I'm going to go through our typical outline, and then we'll get started in just a few seconds, okay? All right, so tonight, normally we do a lot of Facebook Live updates on the laws, on whether it's immigration or personal injury, car accidents, but every now and then we like to bring other members of the team. I know you guys don't want to just see me every week, so we want to get to know everyone else who's working hard on your cases in our office. And there's many things that people do behind the scenes, and it's really important for you all to know who is working on your case, their background and their education, and that's what the Meet the Team series is all about. Some quick updates. In addition to that, we're going to start having client testimonials or even clients on the show to help other potential people explain what the process was like for them. So if you're a former client and you think that's something you want to do, please let us know. We have some people saying hi. Hey, Miss Lillian, how you doing? And then Mr. Bashar. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. And really quick, besides that, we like to always start with something positive and some good news. Yesterday, we received word that one of our clients that's been waiting probably 6 or 7 years for their citizenship was approved. His case was a very complicated one. A lot of things happen outside of his control, and he will now be a citizen at the end of this month. So we are happy for him. And I know that I just spoke to him on today, and he is through the moon as well. So if you don't already, please follow us on social media. We are at Mubarak Law for Facebook, and as well as on YouTube and Instagram or Twitter. And we even have a newsletter. So everyone's always asking us what's the best way to get updates, what's the fastest way. We always send out newsletters or updates, especially when something happens breaking and is so critical. So I'm going to bring on our guest. I just like to introduce her. There's a couple more comments. Lillian saying Gloria is the best. I agree. Gloria is wonderful. She has been with me for 9 years, so God bless her. And Mr. Mohammed just joined. Hey, Mohammed, welcome. Thanks for having us, guys, in your living room or on wherever you are tonight. So our new attorney Roshni Ravani, is a individual born in India, and then after reaching a certain age, her family moved to London. And then in London, she became a solicitor, which is the equivalent to an attorney here in the United States. And she said, that's not enough. Now I want to go to school again and become a lawyer in the United States. But besides that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her background information, because she is impressive for a U.S. attorney. She graduated in the top 6% of her class. She graduated with honors in London, and her family also had a firm. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on attorney Roshni Ravani, and please say hello, send us your questions, and please let's give a big welcome to attorney Ravani.
Hello, good evening, Naif.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you for having me. It's my first ever Facebook Live, so yay.
Welcome to Mubarak Law, welcome to Facebook Live. This is going to be a great start for you, and I could tell you that I already feel so comfortable, and I'm very thankful that you've joined our firm. You're doing a great job. So we'll start with that at that point. And my dad says I'm looking great. So hey, Dad, thank you. So Roshni, tell us a little bit about, living in India and where you're from.
So as you mentioned, I was born in India, in a city called Anand in Gujarat. So I'm a Gujarati. For people who don't know, Gujarat is in the west of India. And there's a lot of Gujaratis out there. Everybody kind of knows one or the other Patel. So I come from that state. And then my family, my dad was a lawyer in India. He had his own firm. My mom, she used to work in a bank. She was a cashier in a bank. And we lived in India. I did my high school in India, and then I was there until I was 16 years old. So my family, my dad decided that we were going to immigrate to United Kingdom. So that's that, and that's how my journey began in United Kingdom.
Okay, so we have some people saying hello to you. We have Jessica Ramos saying,
Hey,
"Go
Jessica.
Roshni."
Thanks, friend.
And then we also have Mr. Bashar saying hello, Attorney Roshni.
Hello, Mr. Bashar.
So yes, you're doing great. You've got some fans and followers already, so great job. And now, tell us, how was it when you made that transition? Like, I'm sure. So I've told you this. I've been to Gujarat. I've been to Baroda in India. I went a couple years ago. We have many clients that do EB-5 investor clients in the investor visas in the United States. So one of my clients whose case was completely successful, now has the green card, he told me, "Hey, Naif, there's a lot of people here in Gujarat that want you to come and do a presentation. So, I mean, you don't have to tell me twice to get on a plane." And I went, and we met so many wonderful people. And I did a presentation. We've even done 2 or 3 more EB-5s from that visit. So it's really important that people know the difference and maintain contact. But like, what would you say was the starkest difference between being in Gujarat, where everybody knows everybody, and then being dropped in London? Was that any different?
It was difficult, the culture, the tradition, and like leaving your friends behind, living your life, that the only life that you know, leaving that behind, and then coming to UK and start everything all over again. It was difficult, and but difficult and exciting at the same time, because then again, it's like a little fish from the pond is in a big lake kind of thing. So and then I started my schooling. I started with my A-levels in United Kingdom, in London. I used to go to a Hindu school. It was a Swaminarayan school. Everybody knows about this big Hindu temple in London, Neasden. So I went to a Hindu school. I finished my A-levels over there. So I was kind of like in the knitted Indian culture over there in England as well.
Okay. Like a transitional place for you to be in London, but maintain all of your connections and cultures and religions there. So we have more comments. I just want to share on our screen here. Indian adult key size. I don't know if that means something, or that might be a typo. And then also here is just Mr. Muhammad telling us about, India's wonderful first civilization and good people. So thank you for that feedback. Now, what made you, after completing your A-levels in London, want to go to the university or to become a solicitor in the UK?
So you wouldn't believe if I tell you that I actually didn't want to be a lawyer or a solicitor in the United Kingdom. I actually wanted to be a dentist. But I think the transition from India to UK, I missed on a couple of grades. And at that time, my dad already had a firm. He was a solicitor in the UK. So if you don't know, my dad is a solicitor. My dad was a solicitor. My brother is a solicitor. And now I became a solicitor. So the whole family is lawyers except my mom. So imagine how much argument go around back and forth in our house.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody's always right, in that position. And so you didn't become a dentist. You became a solicitor. Can you explain? You helped educate me. You told me that in the UK that there's a solicitor and barrister. There's 2 different types. One deals with the attorneys. Can you give our viewers some of that definition to show how it compares with the US?
Sure. So as I mentioned, after A-levels, I went and did my Bachelor's of Law degree at the Middlesex University. So after that degree, I then have to choose whether I want to become a solicitor or a barrister. Now, the difference is solicitors are more just like how we are. There's a more client one-on-one interactions. Clients come to you with their problems and you try to resolve them. And Barristers are more towards the advocacy part. They go and represent clients in front of a judge, and then a solicitor can also hire a barrister to go on their behalf. So as my dad already had a law firm, and that's the path that I chose. So I did a 1-year course to become a solicitor, 2 years of training. We have to get a training contract to be able to get admitted into the Law Society of England and Wales. So I did my training, and then I became a solicitor.
And what type of cases did your family's firm, or does your family's firm handle back home in England?
So my family law firm was called Robinson, Ravani and Co. Solicitors, and my dad initially started the firm practicing immigration. So he started doing immigration cases, spouse visas, business visas, human rights petitions, etc. And then we slowly branched into personal injury, and now we also have a conveyancing department. So we have another attorney with us who also deals with real estate, residential, commercial transactions.
So you guys did immigration and personal injury. That sounds very familiar. I think you found a right fit here, another family to join. So I'm curious, what is it like for an immigrant trying to go to the UK, either through a spouse, right? And how does that differ from the spouse visa here? Here in the US, if you're applying for your spouse, you could do consular processing, or you could do adjustment of status. There are some requirements like proving a bona fide relationship, the affidavit of support, and so how does that differ with your experience back in London?
So some of the things are very common. Some of the requirements are very common, such as there has to be a marriage, there has to be a genuine relationship, there has to be an accommodation requirement, such as the spouse, the overseas spouse, if he's coming to the UK, then the UK citizen spouse has to be able to provide them and accommodate them. But the main differences that we have from US and UK spouse visa immigration is that there's a requirement, there's a cap for the salaries. The UK spouse has to earn at least 18,600 pounds per annum. If they don't earn that, then they have to get a co-sponsor. And the second requirement is an English language requirement. So the overseas spouse that's coming to the UK has to meet some specific English standard requirement by the UK government. So if you don't pass and if you don't meet that requirement, you cannot come to the UK. And so once the spouse,
it's a little bit different than here, right? Because here you don't have to demonstrate proficiency of English until you're becoming a citizen. So in the UK, in order to immigrate and become a resident there, you do have to demonstrate English. Now, how difficult is that English portion, or how is that conducted? How do they test that?
So there are a couple of tests. It's a government-approved test, such as IELTS and TOEFL. So the spouse would know, the overseas spouse would know which classes to go to, and it's on the government's website, the recommended courses.
Okay. And now you obviously were not born in the US, so you are an immigrant to our country. What was that process like for you?
So as I was a solicitor, and as life turns out to be, I actually got married to my husband, who's located in the US. And it was either him or me. Somebody had to move. And he already had done a lot in the US, so it was time for me to move to the US. And as a solicitor, I thought that I could at least do my research. And then I started looking at resources, buying a couple of books to know what US immigration is about. As a lawyer myself as well, I actually went ahead and got a consultation from an immigration attorney in the UK just to see what my avenues were. Do I come on fiancé visa? Do I want to, apply for a spouse visa? How long does the process last? And then finally, I decided to do the petition myself. So I actually did my whole I-130 by myself, but I was here and then adjusted my status. Okay.
And now I guess that's probably what led you to want to become an attorney in the US, because I just think about people who never stopped going to school. Is that something? Are you going to become a dentist next, or what do you have? What was the reason behind that?
So I think when we were planning to get married, it was actually my husband who said that, you know, you are already a solicitor, you're already a successful lawyer back in your country, and I wouldn't want you to let it all go to waste. And he was like, if you're happy, if you're willing to go and study for 3 more years, and I'm ready too. So I think that was before we even got married. As I was telling you that, you know, I was in India planning for my wedding, and I was actually submitting applications to you know, for law schools. So that was already the plan. I was going to go to law school eventually when I moved to US.
And
I wanted to keep that passion alive.
And what would you say now that you've been working in immigration, you've been exposed to it, what would you say are some of the processes that you enjoy and that you're currently working on in our office?
I think I really enjoy doing spouse visas right now, and the reason why I want to tell you that I feel like each and every case is very personal to me, because I've been through that process. I've been through that interview process. I know the anxiety that you get when you're sitting in that USCIS interview and waiting for your number to be called. And with me, I knew my case was 100% there, and I knew it was going to get approved. But there was still that 1% chance. That, you know, that something could go wrong.
Right, you see it all the time. Yeah, people who have kids, been married years, 3, 4 kids, and they're so nervous. It's because that unknown and being put under that kind of microscope is a lot of pressure. So it's amazing to have an attorney who knows that process and who can understand what it is exactly you're going through, because you've been through it yourself.
Correct. And I think there's also the part where we got to make sure that, you know, the client has evidence, they have bona fides. We have to vet the clients. You got to make sure the marriage is not of convenience. There's no fraud involved. So I like, and what I want is to make sure that my clients feel comfortable. They're prepared when they go for the interview. And yeah, so I enjoy doing spouse visas right now.
Okay.
I want to make sure the process is as smooth as possible for them.
And as far as our firm goes, what would you say is something that's more different than working back in the UK? What would you say is one of the biggest differences with a US law firm and a firm like yours back in London?
So our firm was kind of similar to what you have. It's a family firm. The main difference is that I was working with family. So we were working when we went home. We were still working here. But I think the type of work that we do, the petitions, the US is a very set format. While in the UK there was not set format. Like we used to go. How do I put it? Like it was my own firm, so I was working till late night. Petitions wise, clients wise, it's a little bit different. Law is different everywhere in the world, but it's a similar process.
Okay. And what is your favorite thing about our office? I didn't tell you this question ahead of time.
The team. I like the team. I like how we all work together. Everything is organized. Everyone is very nice. Especially, we have a lot of languages in the office, which is a very good asset. We have you guys speak Arabic, we have Portuguese, we have Spanish, and now I speak Hindi, I speak Gujarati.
Yeah. Tell me about that. So you speak Hindi, Gujarati, and I saw on your resume, and I didn't see it during the interview process, that you have a little bit of Spanish on there. So I didn't know that. So now I'm going to test you, not right on the live, and we're going to speak Spanish.
There's no way that's happening. I can make you speak in Gujarati because you've been to Baroda, right? So
yeah,
it should be easier for you.
So a good friend and a very knowledgeable immigration attorney in town, Ms. Paturi, has said, welcome, go Indians, and said that you had a great lawyer to work with. And thank you for that comment. Attorney Paturi is very experienced and knowledge, and thanks for joining us tonight. I love to see my colleagues. And, you know, one thing that's great about immigration law practice is your peers in this field everybody seems to be so helpful. Like it's less of a competition mindset, and people continue to work together because we are in the greater good of helping people. And I think people understand that in our field, especially after the last few years, things were extremely difficult. Now, besides immigration, you mentioned you had PI at your job in London, and
Correct.
you even had PI exposure here.
Mm-hmm.
We have car accidents and personal injury in our firm.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, if there's a favorite part of personal injury cases and car accidents, do you think it really speaks to you?
I believe the moment that I get the client's medicals back is ascertaining. I think it's very important, and some of the attorneys really miss that you have to make sure that there is a how do I put it, that you have to, when you analyze how much the claim is worth, you have to be very honest to your clients. I think that's very important. You have to meet their expectations. You have to manage their expectations. I like to go through the medical records along with my client. I have to tell them the pros and cons of their cases. And then at every single opportunity, I always ask my client's approval before I negotiate the offer with them. Of course, sometimes you have to make that decision, and it's okay to go on with, what you feel is right. However, I really, really believe that, we have to make sure that the client is updated and kept in the loop the whole process.
I mean, by legally speaking, we must notify the client, and of course, the client can give us a bottom line, which would allow us to accept anything above that number. But I think you hit it on the head. Like, having honest expectations about car accidents. Everybody sees these billboards that say millions of dollars in recovery, but they don't realize that came with a price. That was some kind of catastrophic loss, death, or loss of a limb, something that is really, I wouldn't wish on anybody. And it all depends on, of course, insurance coverage. So, and we say this all the time on our Facebook Lives, Florida does not require bodily injury insurance. So if you're injured in an accident and the other person doesn't have bodily injury insurance, and you don't have uninsured motorist insurance, then you're going to be stuck with bills if you have severe injuries, or you're not going to be able to treat. So I tell everybody, please get uninsured motorist insurance until Florida becomes a state that requires that bodily injury. Roshni, you mentioned a couple of things about, being a solicitor in London, and then as well as here. Now I'll just put you on the spot. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm licensed in both the countries right now, so hey, I do love U.S. Immigration. I think there's a variety and various branches that a person can apply under. So it's like, maybe if you're a victim of crime, there's a U visa for you, and there's a VAWA there for you. There's a spouse visa. A family can petition for you. Which is great. A brother can petition for you. So I think there's a different avenues. So I kind of prefer U.S. immigration right now.
And I was curious because the U.S. tends to have some strict laws and not a lot of options for humanitarian. Mm-hmm. What is the UK's or the EU? They left the Union, right? So they're Brexit. And so what is the UK's position on immigration and humanitarian relief?
So while it's very, very different, and I really found that very interesting that in the US, if a child is born in the US and the parents have overstayed or they have no status, the child cannot petition for them until he is 21 years of 21 years of age. But in the UK, the human rights, if you apply under the human rights, if the child is born in the UK and is 7 years of age, and if you show hardship, such as the one that we do in the US for 601 waiver, you have to show hardship to the child, that, the child has medical condition, the child has never been to abroad, like never been to their home country, he doesn't know the language, he doesn't speak the language, he has medical issues, he goes to school, his life is in the UK. The parents can actually petition on behalf of the child and get leave to remain, right. which is very interesting. And I think sometime I hope that in the US there is a law that passes or something happens that
even in some of the US laws, the children are not qualifying relatives for the provisional waiver. So a lot of times we can't even apply for a pardon or forgiveness because the children don't count as a qualifying relative for a waiver, which is kind of crazy. And I can't tell you, I mean, if I had a penny, not a dollar, for every time somebody asks me, well, I have a US citizen child and I've been here 10 years, don't I get something? I'm like, no, you know, and you all have in London a procedure that you just mentioned that after 7 years of residence and things that you would be eligible if there is hardship. So
Right.
I think it's interesting that there is some type of humanitarian aspect that's greater with the UK. Now, how is their employment side? I know we have a few minutes left, but what's the employment visa side? Did you have a lot of experience in that, or do they have?
I didn't, but my brother used to do the, and he still used to do the employment visa side. So he was more, but so it would be similar to the H-1B, but then you have to, again, for labor of certification, they had an online portal when you have to apply for the employee, and once you get the approval, then you can. But it was a tier based, it's a points based system over there as well. So say for example, if you have a master's degree, you get 30 points for it. If you meet a financial requirement by the employer, you meet 50. So you have to kind of like meet that requirement.
That point system, does it require an employer job offer still, or is it just simply your accolades?
Simply your accolades.
So you can go, if I have my law degree, I have experience, and I say I want to immigrate there, they'll check the points.
If you meet your requirements and then the
certain. If your brother is hiring, maybe I could make a transfer. Before we go, I just want to give a quick update. We spoke about it last week in the Facebook Live in Arabic. Last year, any application filed December 1st and after for naturalization was going to receive a new exam, a more difficult exam out of 128 questions instead of 100 questions. The Biden administration has now taken away this exam. So if you filed from December 1st to March 1st, you will have the option to take either naturalization exam. So if you've already started studying the new harder one and you don't want to change courses, you don't have to. But anybody who files after March 1st is going to be taking the 2007 or 8 exam that's been around for some time. So that's like a really important update I wanted to share with you all. Roshni, anything else you want to share with everybody tonight?
No, that's it. If you guys have any questions, do let us know. Email us, contact us, and we are there for you.
Yeah, and we just sent out our monthly newsletter for March. Happy Women's Month, and be on the lookout for that. If you want to subscribe to that newsletter, you could just email me or message me your email address, and we will add you to that newsletter, and you get to see cases of the month and successful things that have happened and updates. So, Attorney Ravani, thank you for joining Mubarak Law. Thank you for your first Facebook Live with me. I look forward to having you do this, maybe next week on your own, and I'll take the night off. And maybe we could even have it in Hindi. We should have an episode in Hindi or Gujarati. I think that would serve your community well, especially to hear, it's always nice to hear your own language. So I hope that we can do that soon.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
Thanks everybody who joined us tonight and all the feedback. Welcoming back. We'll see you guys next week. Okay.